Right, so we're going to do two sections today, just kind of reviewing basic kind of stuff to get you used to me teaching and get you back in math mode. The first one is 1.2, and all it's talking about is all the different types of numbers. If you happen to take the previous classes before this, they kind of walk you through all these different types of numbers. So every number that we talk about for the first half of the semester is called a real number. A real number. So all these numbers are called real numbers. Under the umbrella of real numbers, we can break that into categories. So real numbers are any number that you can think of. If you start breaking that down, there's two options from there. You have irrational numbers and rational numbers. Irrational and rational. Okay, the root word of rational is ratio. Ratio makes a fraction. So a rational number is a fraction type number. So 2/3, it could be a -4/5. Can I write 7 as a fraction? 7/1. So that is a fraction. I can still write a whole number as a fraction because I can put it over 1. So these are all the numbers that I can write as fractions. Irrational numbers are your weird numbers like pi, 3.1415926. It doesn't end. If you do the square root of 2 in your calculator, it just is 1.412. I mean, just keep going. What?
5.
You said pi? 5?
Yeah, child.
Oh, 5, yeah. 5. So yes, all those weird numbers that just have a value. The E, if you know the E on the calculator, it's 2.71. And you just keep going. So those are your kind of weird ones that never end. The square root of 7 that keeps going. What about the square root of 36? It would be rational because the square root of 36 is 6. So I know it fit under here. All right, so there's nothing else under rational, but then rational, we can start breaking out those, and we could say integers to non-integers, which is basically your non-integers are all your fractions. Whereas this is 2/3, there's no different way to write that, and there's no different way to write -4/5. But I can write 7 as a whole number. I could write the square root of 36 as 6. Okay, integers are any negative number, 0, and any positive number. Okay, so now we have the rational category that all this stuff in it, so we're breaking it apart. We have the fractions, we have the non-fractions, the integers and non-integers. So from integers, we can break that apart and do, what can we do here? We can take away the negatives. So the negative integers would be all your negative numbers. And then we call 0 and 1, 2, 3 would be your whole number, 0, 1, 2, 3, and they keep going. So we broke apart the negatives, and there's one more thing we can break apart. When you start counting, what do you start counting at? 1. So 0 is in its own little category here, and what they call the natural numbers. You naturally start counting with 1. So natural numbers, or actually another word that they use is actually counting. They used to call them counting numbers. But you naturally start counting at 1. You don't start counting at 0. So this is natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, and then 0 apart. So what happens here is you have all of these, and then you break them apart into pieces so we can look at all of them. So the natural numbers, then you can work backwards too. The natural numbers plus 0 would equal the whole numbers. The whole numbers plus negative numbers would equal the integers. What this whole section is just kind of getting you back in the groove of things and identifying numbers. Now the weird thing about this is if I said the number 38, what's the lowest one that the number 38 goes under? Natural. It goes all the way under natural because I can count 38, right? So that means 38 is a natural number. It's also a whole number because it fits under there. It's an integer because it fits under there. Can I write 38 as a fraction? 38 over 1, right? So it's a rational number. It's a real number. So what you do is you find the lowest spot that it can go, and then it's everything up above it. Okay, so the reason I'm showing you that, because if you go look at the homework, which that's all this homework is, there's only a few questions. You go look at the homework, -7. So what's the lowest spot on that little chart the -7 can go? Negative integers. Okay, I don't think they have that as an option, so we'll say integers. So that means it is a rational number and it is a real number. So when you go do that homework, it is an integer and it's everything above an integer, which is a rational number and it's a real number. Okay, so since it fits under that entire umbrella, you got to count all those. I did one like that. So all right, what about -8 over 9? Where does it fit? Rational, so it's the only thing it can be is rational and real. And that's pretty much all that section is. Has a true false one. All right, so I don't think you'll have too much problem with that. You can probably fly through that pretty quick. All right, so this was one thing that I do need to say. This skills check right here, what it does, I think if I click on it, it's not going to let me go. Yeah, you got to take the skills check chapter. It's like a quiz kind of. But that has sections 1.4 to 1.8 in it. So instead of making you do all 5 of those sections, they just pick a few problems from each of them. And if you do good on this skills check, whenever you get right on the skills check, you get to skip out of the homework. Okay, so if you get 100% on this little skills check, then you don't have to do any of this homework. Okay, so they're kind of limited. Instead of making you do all 5 of those sections, they just pick the high points of all those. So you will have to take the skills check and do good on it, so then you don't have to do as much homework as enough.
Like the sections that you'll be teaching are like previous.
No, I'm gonna go over it today real quick. Yeah. No, it's stuff I'm gonna go over. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump in there and do that.